Hey, welcome to the Virtually Speaking podcast. This is Pete Fletcher coming to you live from Snowmageddon 2026. John, how you doing, buddy?
I'm actually in the middle of my advanced weather preparation here. I'm making sure I'll be ready for the cold weather. So first off, got to switch to the serious winter hat.
I love it. I love it.
And then
Yeah. Oh, look at you. You are ready.
All right.
The bad news is you're in Austin, so advanced weather for you is like 60 degrees, you know.
It is. We're the ones 73. It's 73 degrees, but you know.
Nice. Yeah. Not for us. We're gonna get some crazy stuff this week. So looking forward to that. You know, almost as much as I'm looking forward to kicking off this new series, new year, new series. John, we have a lot of cool stuff coming down the pipe this year on Virtually Speaking, and I love that we're kicking it off with sort of a series dedicated to VCF Advanced Services. You know, a lot of people know about VCF. A lot of folks have seen the evolution of all the different components that make up VCF to become now VCF. But I feel like the advanced services themselves, they don't get enough love. You know, like I don't think people really truly understand how many advanced services we have and all the different things that they do. So I thought this might be a good time to maybe dive into that and spend a couple of weeks chewing on the various services. What do you think?
I like this. It's like whenever you have a favorite artist, but then you discover the rest of the back catalog, you're like, actually, this kind of slaps. This is good. So we should go through this.
I agree. There's plenty of them out there, as I mentioned, and I figured let's start by actually maybe dedicating an episode to just sort of touching on the various ones that we have. We're not alone. We're joined by a good friend of the show, Mr. Rick Walsworth. Rick, welcome back.
Hey guys, good to see you again, as always.
Yeah, you're coming from, we're talking about Snowmageddon. You just came back from your trip to Hawaii. So I think there's not a lot of things we can relate to here.
Yeah, the weather there is just so boring. It's always 80 degrees and sunny, except when it's not, right? So we ran into a situation about a week and a half ago where it just came down pouring rain for about 30 minutes. Everybody got wet, and then it stopped. I love that.
Yeah, that's nice.
I mean, I think it may be freezing rain for 30 minutes or 30 hours for Pete. So,
yeah.
he will relate.
Oh my goodness, dude, everything's gone. All the water is gone. All the toilet paper is gone. All the batteries are gone. You go to the people are panicking. The sky is falling over here in Charlotte, North Carolina, but we're going to survive. Yeah. So Rick, as I mentioned, like we've been looking at, we've been talking about VCF all the time, and we do various episodes dedicated to individual advanced services, but I thought it might be good to kick off the year by going through all these advanced services, maybe starting with the fact that one advanced service that some folks might have known as an advanced service is no longer an advanced service.
Exactly. Yeah. So private AI, the reality is AI is becoming mainstream, right? And we've heard that loud and clear from our customers that a lot of the workloads that are being driven onto VCF as a platform are AI services. And so the ability to be able to take what was an advanced service and now bring it in as part of a core offering within the VCF platform just makes so much sense. And it really allows customers now to be able to build environments today without having to add additional services on top of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've seen, for those listening, there's going to be a YouTube video on this as well. We're going to go through all of the different things. So there are visuals. So I may reference some slides from here and there. But Rick, on this slide, I see a sort of a higher level overview of the various advanced services. Should we start there?
Yeah, I think this is a great place to start. And quite honestly, a lot of this initiated directly from customer conversations, right? Is that, conversation stemmed around, well, this is great, but I really need a higher level of cyber compliance. So the, ACC, Advanced Cyber Compliance, or the ACC offering, came about. We announced it at Explore last year, went GA in November, and the uptake has been amazing. We've seen great customer interest on this, and it's really the ability to tie together a lot of these cyber protection products into a single offer that makes a lot of sense, not only for the largest of our large customers, but also the ability to be able to drive this out across there. On top of that, advanced security, right? This is the vDefend portfolio. They do a great job of providing, not only the distributed firewalls that everybody has essentially become reliant on in building that out, but also using a lot of the embedded capabilities as part of that. Avi for load balancing, right? That provides a great load balancing platform that, complements what comes native within the VCF platform. Tanzu delivers all the application services. And then you get into the data services around DSM. So now I have the ability to provide a database as a service, network observability. So that brings in some of the NetOps capability, business operations, and then identity security. So this is really a good portfolio view of how we're offering the advanced services to be able to provide value into existing or net new VCF environments.
I like it. I like it. Yeah. So why don't we start with the first one that was on there, VCF Advanced Cyber Compliance.
Yeah, so this is really a great opportunity because what it does is it pulls together, solutions that have been very, very, well respected and well deployed by customers in terms of the ability to have the live recovery capabilities, right? So that brings together some of that live recovery for both DR and the ransomware recovery. But it ties it together with some of our desired state remediation products, right? So you think about SALT. SALT was, somewhat kind of, it was abandoned, I don't want to say abandoned, but orphaned a little bit within the VCF platform when we did the acquisition from Broadcom. Now what we're doing is we're bringing this together. So it allows you the ability to be able to look at things like configuration drift and then automatically remediate those issues as part of that. But then tie that in with some of the other workflows around cyber recovery, the isolated clean rooms that come from VLR, and the ability to be able to tie in some of the other cyber defenses that are built together, but now offer this as a complete solution. So if you look at it, it's the ability to make sure that my systems are always compliant. I have the ability to be able to provide both recovery from ransomware and from disaster environments, as well as essentially enhance that platform security and the ability to be much more responsive in terms of how I respond to specific incidents that come up as part of these solution offerings.
This was an interesting one for me. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, I like the idea specifically of SALT, not just as something to do audit, because I feel like we've dealt with a lot of audit and security people over the years who are like, hey, I ran this tool, here's a report. You have port 443 open and 80 open on a web server. Like, okay, thanks, I guess. Versus like, hey, we're going to continually remediate and we're going to do this at scale. And by the way, our scanning engine isn't, something that runs on Bob's laptop once a quarter. It's a continuous distributed fabric system with these remote, agents and pillars and things that can scale and handle all of this. And it's not just looking at necessarily just purely a host basis, but you can scale that a lot farther in terms of that capability.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, this was one when I first saw it, I was a little confused, but then it took me back to when I first saw vSphere Lifecycle Manager, and when they started moving to this desired state configurations where they would literally, if you're out of compliance, it would identify the configuration drift, and so that whole concept was really interesting to me. So it was interesting to see how we took something like SaltStack, which is like this automation platform, and we're able to take that and have this whole compliance, now VCF. SALT, but having that tied with security, because clearly when there's configuration drift, or any type of drift from a security perspective, that's a problem. So yeah, absolutely. Seeing that tied, that compliance tied with the security seems like a really cool feature.
Yep, absolutely. And I mean, the response we've seen, like I said, just went GA in November. The response we've seen from customers and from our field has been phenomenal. So I think, it really meets what customers are asking for, and the feedback's been great.
Very nice, very nice. Let me see if I should go back to my my slide here. So which one do we want to cover next, do you think?
I mean, vDefend, right? If you look at it from the standpoint of what are customers deploying, with VCF as part of this, I think vDefend fits that really nicely. And it takes in a lot of the product capabilities that, customers have grown used to, right? The ability to have microsegmentation. So now I can essentially provide microsegmentation, But now what I can do is I can start to layer that into environments that are using virtual private clouds. So now I have the ability not only to be able to segregate workloads, segregate users within those workloads, but then within that, I also have the ability to be able to segment those even further so that if indeed something happens, let's say a malware gets through, I have the ability to be able to isolate that specific malware and then use that as a way to be able to tie that back to the VPCs, how I'm building out my lateral security. And that's one of the biggest problems, right? A lot of customers essentially, they know something got in, or they don't know that something got in. It could sit there for months and then start to move laterally within there, seeking for files to damage. And a lot of times that happens undetected. vDefend has the ability to be able to, essentially implement a zero trust environment so that it gives the ability to be able to support these capabilities, not only on a VPC basis, but then also to be able to tie that back to the microsegmentation capabilities I talked about earlier.
Yeah, one of the cool things that when I first learned about vDefend, obviously file attacks are common and they're probably easier to protect against. But as we've learned, so many people are moving to fileless, and that gets pretty tricky on how to actually detect that, right? Yeah. Like it's more about behavior than it is, like what is this thing doing? Why is John in my system trying to take advantage, doing these certain, steps?
Pete is trying to RDP and use 3389 to my domain controller. Why is he trying to do this? Why? But it also raises the question of why can these VMs even talk to each other? Like being able to segment that as well as continuously audit those connections. That's pretty big.
Exactly. So, you think about the power of, vDefend working with what we were just talking about around ACC. So now the ability to not only, detect for intrusions within it, I can take action against those intrusions. But if indeed something happened, I can now use the components within ACC to be able to take that to the next level.
Aha. So they actually work together. That's a beautiful thing. Yeah. Very cool.
As it should, right? As it should.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's continue the conversation. Another advanced service I've been hearing a lot about is Avi Load Balancer.
Of course. Yeah. Avi is a technology that customers have grown accustomed to. They've built a lot of their infrastructure around it. And, we've essentially continued to drive more innovation, more capabilities within Avi as part of the core offering. So if you look at what Avi does, right, it now brings in, the basic load balancer that you have within it, but also now gives the ability to be able to look at things like ingress on the Kubernetes side, right? So it gives you a lot of capabilities there. The consumption experience from a VCF user standpoint, just because of the fact that we've integrated it deeply into our automation operations framework, as I build workflows within VCF to be able to do that, I can now leverage these as native services. So it doesn't, to a user, it doesn't feel like an advanced service. It's actually integrated deeply within it. And our roadmaps have been aligned. So we're essentially making sure that as they deliver new capabilities within Avi, within a VCF environment, we have the ability to be able to take advantage of those and then use those across the different use cases and workloads that are deployed within VCF today.
Yeah, what's great about Avi is it was always an API first product, and so we talk about the integrations in the day two, and where we're going is as features are, they can show up in blueprints and automation instantly. But it was ready. It was ready for cloud scale. It was ready to be a cloud management load balancer. I feel like there's a lot of load, a lot of load balancers people have worked with that were based around CLI, automation, scripting. They'd been, the platforms that have been around for 20 years and things like that. Or they were very basic. They did layer 4 only. But Avi was kind of it was advanced. It actually did good layer 7 stuff. But it was also ready with that API first mentality for scaling out and doing all the things we need.
Yep, exactly. No, a lot of value there. And again, as I mentioned, a lot of integration. So VPCs, for example, if I stand up VPCs within the environment, I can map those VPCs into workloads that are being managed through Avi as well.
Very nice, very nice. All right, we don't have you for too long, so I want to move on. And as I mentioned, John and I are going to be doing a deeper dive on all of these topics. Each one of those episodes is going to be on the VMware Cloud Foundation YouTube channel. So link in the description for those listening. So we are going to be we're going to be sharing the whole series there. But why don't we take a moment and talk about DSM, something I'm sure a lot of folks are already familiar with.
Yeah, exactly. And DSM's been something that's been very popular within our install base. And remember, we've traditionally supported the, Postgres, NoSQL type of database, MySQL type database in there. But we've had a lot of requests to be able to bring SQL Server in. And so, one of the things that we announced back in November is tech preview for SQL Server as part of that. One of the things you can look, that will go actually full GA as we go forward. So it really provides a complete environment to be able to manage databases in there. And again, this is really oriented more towards that DevOps or the platform teams. So the whole idea is to be able to provide the power of what your DBAs could do within the platform so that you don't really need DBAs to be able to stand these up for developers as part of this. So it really provides, that better control, all of the operational tools that you need. But now we extend that out so it can go into these developers or the DevOps teams as they're building these out.
DSM has made a lot of sense from a cloud platform because once you got past creating VMs and maybe some object storage, I feel like database as a service was the third thing that everyone consumed when they messed around with public cloud. And managing databases is painful and dealing with indexing, all that. And it's got all that and looking at it, looking at the release notes, this is iterating very quickly. I see January 21st, 9.0.2 pushing out even more advancements for Postgre, for MySQL and MySQL, Microsoft SQL Server agents now being supported. So that's continually iterating forward.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. That's hot off the press, that news, John. Look at you. You're very current on your updates there.
Exactly.
Awesome. All right, moving on to VMware Tanzu Data Intelligence.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you look at both, Tanzu Data Intelligence and the Tanzu platform, it really is a platform play. So when you think about what are the tools that your platform developers need and those that are supporting those developers need as part of it, you want to be able to make sure that it can tie into the underlying infrastructure. And again, from day one, platforms really. The Tanzu platform has really been oriented towards that developer environment, right? To be able to stand up a complete developer environment. And by the integration that we provided with VCF as part of this, I get a lot more intelligence, a lot more insight, and the ability to be able to deliver these solutions at scale, but still maintain all the privacy and security requirements that customers expect as part of it. So both data intelligence as well as the Tanzu platform complement what we're providing on the VCF side very, very nicely. And, especially when you think about moving into modern apps, using Kubernetes as an orchestration framework in your container environment, that plays very nicely in terms of how I service these within the platform environments. Yep. And, we talk about the platform, right? This whole play plays very nicely on the integration that we provide here. And it really helps, regardless of whether it's a standalone DevOps environment or I'm standing up a net new AI environment to be able to support that. We've got tools and integration with VCF that allows the ability to deploy these at scale.
No, getting those applications out the door is the time the speed there on those developers, especially with those AI applications people are building. That's important.
It takes friction out of the system.
Absolutely. All right. So another one that's interesting is network observability. Now, this is one that I wasn't familiar with at first, which is one of the reasons that actually prompted me into, hey, if there's so many different advanced services that, I didn't even know about as an employee, it'd be cool to do this deeper dive. But this was certainly one of those because it wasn't directly connected just to VCF. And so what can you tell me about network observability?
Well, yeah, this is really the NetOps product from Broadcom, right? And so, if you think historically, this came back from the CA acquisition a couple of years ago. And, what was interesting is that one of the first contacts that I had as soon as the Broadcom acquisition closed was with the network observability team. And, essentially what they said is that, look, there's great synergy here because if you look at what we provide within our operations tools that come natively within VCF, what you don't have visibility to the rest of the environment, right? What are my, if I think about, all the network endpoints that I'm connecting to, what is that public cloud? What does that upstream pipeline look like? We're really blind in terms of that. So what this does is this provides actually the ability to be able to optimize all of that information and then bring it back in context to the infrastructure team that's managing your VCF environment. So it really helps take a lot of the guesswork out of deploying these solutions at scale, provides a lot better insight end to end in terms of what's happening there, especially when you look about extending across WANs. And for these edge type use cases, this brings in a lot of information that I would normally not have as part of it. And the integration is getting better with NetOps and VCF as part of this. So you're going to see more, I think, use cases built around these joint solutions.
I really like the story here around time to blame. Being able, because it's either DNS's fault or it's network engineering, it's BGP, but being able to pierce through MPLS networks, see what's going on there, get that visibility. We have a great story on observability inside the data center and between apps, between containers and things. But when you start bouncing all over the planet, there be dragons sometimes and gaps in there. And this provides way more detail than Peter and I are ever going to figure out with ping and trace route. So.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. That's the thing, right? Sometimes you don't even have access to all the pieces, so you don't have control. So having something that has that overview of the entire network, I would imagine a lot of different use cases for that. Certainly troubleshooting, but also like planning for a migration. Like being able to be like, all right, what am I missing? How do things actually route? What's the performance? Yes. Yeah, lots of really cool stuff. Lots of value. Speaking of value, Rick, there's one called ValueOps for VCF.
Yeah, and so I mean, if you think really about the next two, right, the ValueOps and automation, the Atomic product, again, good synergies there, especially when you look at the larger environments. And this is all about trying to make sure that I can essentially have more information that I can make smarter decisions, and it's really towards that infrastructure owner and their management, right? Because I need the ability to be able to, for example, if I'm doing a cloud transformation and I'm driving innovation through this, I need the tools and the information to be able to do so at scale. And so what ValueOps, and even if you bring Atomic into this from an automation standpoint, these provide the ability not only to be able to look at what does that end-to-end environment look like, but now how do I tie this back with applications and workloads that I'm driving within VCF? So it provides the ability to have better orchestration. And then when you start looking at applications around AI and private AI, it really kind of helps remove some of the friction that it takes to be able to deploy these at scale. So, we kind of categorize these under that business operations because both these tools provide great integration with VCF and the ability to be much more agile in terms of how I'm deploying these net new solutions out into my infrastructure.
I like this suite and how, like you say, it removes that friction, having that clarity, Rally for agile planning, connect all insights, like all the different capabilities that it brings together are pretty impressive.
Absolutely. And I think, Rick, I think there's one more before we sum this up. There's identity security.
Yep. And that's really bringing in a lot of the Symantec technologies, again, through an acquisition happened several years ago, but Broadcom's been very successful at taking and extending the life of these by really trying to find the use cases around this. Obviously, VCF comes native with built-in, identity access management. All of that's built in. I can do cert management. I can do password management. But what if we want the ability to be able to provide, additional capabilities? So zero trust, right? We talked about zero trust when we were talking about vDefend. But how do I tie that back into making sure that when somebody logs into an environment, they are who they say they are? And Symantec's got a great portfolio of solutions that does this. Now what this does, this ties in with VCF to be able to provide really more of an end-to-end solution around identity management to be able to ensure that it not only interoperates with customer existing environments, but also provides ways to be able to lower the TCO of providing these solutions by essentially just trying to make sure that everything plays nicely together.
No, I was going to say, I like the story here with the identity and getting better visibility into who's connecting and how and why. Obviously, if Pete's connecting, from the Charlotte office, makes complete sense. If he's connecting from what looks like a stolen iPhone, at the Parthenon, absolutely shut that down. So, but being able to have more visibility here, and Symantec has specifically some interesting IP in this space. So it's good to see that piece coming in.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I like it. I like it. So yeah, lots of different advanced services. One of the questions I had, Rick, was like, we've got all these different advanced services that are available to VCF, but like, what does that look like from a customer's perspective? Like, some of these products are not technically, in the VCF sort of portfolio, but they are available. So how does that look like from someone who's actually trying to either use these or actually license these? Like, what's, you don't have to give me a full sales lesson, but how does that work from a customer's viewpoint?
No, it's really trying to map into customers' environments and essentially providing the ability to be flexible enough to be able to offer everything that you need within that core platform offering, but then to be able to customize those environments, to be able to fit into, let's say, heavily regulated environments where I do need a solution like ACC for cyber compliance as part of that. Or if I need to be able to ensure that I can use intrusion detection and prevention to be able to provide and supplement capabilities that come natively within the VCF platform, the advanced services are really a way to be able to open that up to be able to make sure that regardless of where the customer is at within their deployment or their environment, that we've got solutions that be able to provide end-to-end capabilities that allow them to be able to solve for their biggest problems.
Nice. Well, yeah, this is a great way to kick off this series. There's going to be a lot more discussions around these various pieces. We've assembled quite a cast of subject matter experts to come in and talk about the various components, the various advanced services. So yeah, stay tuned for those. Mr. Walsworth, thank you so much for joining us on Virtually Speaking. John, any closing thoughts about advanced services before we let Rick go?
I feel like they're like Pokemon cards. You got to collect them all, but you should start somewhere. You should start, start with which of these sound like it's gonna, solve the most immediate problem, and go out from there. So,
yeah. Now, looking forward to the rest of the series, guys.
Thanks so much, Rick. Thanks so much. Enjoy the rest of your day.